In 2020, when the COVID crash happened, the pandemic plunge, I thought it was all over with, that was the popping of the bubble, that I had missed it and that I had wasted a couple of years of my life. And so I didn't write the rest, once that crash happened, for the rest of 2020, I didn't write it. So I picked it back up 2021, 2022. I worked very intensely on it, trying to get it out before a potential crash, the market correcting from the warping and distorting of the economy that the Federal Reserve has done. Then we ran into the problem of supply chain issues. The printer couldn't get paper. And then the printer couldn't get cardboard to put if he did print the books, he wouldn't be able to have boxes to put them in. And so
Right?
I was trying to
Right.
rush the printer, and then the printer says, "Okay, we've got it. Send me your files." And I was rushing to try and get this done. And when we transferred the files from Word documents into the typesetting, it turned out that the book was big, and I slashed probably. This is probably about 20% of what was written. So for every page that exists here, there were four or five other pages that also existed in the original drafts. It is interesting, this convergence of all of these factors that the geologists and the mining geologists, all of the people that work in mines, hard rock mining is not being taught anymore. These guys are old, they want to retire, and there's very few schools, and I can't remember what it is, but the percentage of degrees in engineering degrees, the mining sector makes up this tiny, tiny fraction of it. Everybody wants to go into tech. Everybody wants to go into something charming. They don't. I think it was Jeff that wrote, "Dirt, forget about it." It really doesn't matter if there's enough people turning toward it yet, because there's basically 25 times, the population is larger. The people that can access gold you could not buy gold in the USSR or Mao's China during the last great gold rush of the bull market of the 70s, which, by the way, with the exception of cryptocurrencies, was the largest bull market there had ever been. People don't realize how big the 70s bull market in precious metals was. By the way, when I say that gold went up 25 times and silver went up 41 times, I'm taking the intraday highs and lows, so that is the maximum potential gains. But still, that is absolutely enormous. And until cryptocurrencies came along, that was the greatest bull market of all time. Now, cryptocurrencies, some of them will do well, maybe all of them in what's coming, but there has just been a lot of suspicion cast on them with the FTX scandal and other things that have happened in that sector. I do own some cryptocurrencies, but the vast majority of the largest portion of my net worth that's in a single area is physical gold and silver. If they went up 25 times for gold and 41 times for silver back in the 70s, and then you look at the amount of gold per person, the amount of gold that's available above ground is about twice as many ounces as back then. Except when you add up, there were no exchanges in Africa. South America was very poor. I remember when I was a kid, all of these commercials on TV trying to raise cash for these starving children. And so they would show starving children in Mexico, in places that are now not starving, where there are investors. There weren't any investors then. They were worried about what to get to eat tomorrow, not what to invest in. And so there's 18 times more people around the world that can access precious metals, with 55 times more currency, according to the OECD. And so, I had a crew of a researcher that would help me find all of the websites to get the data from, and then a chart maker, spreadsheet master, and then a writer, editor, proofreader. And so it was a crew of 4 people working on this. I have more than 3,000 hours of my time invested in this book. And if you look at the back, if you look at the end notes, this is very well researched and documented. Everything is referenced, and most of it comes from the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England. But there is something big coming, and people like Warren Buffett, for instance. He's not going to turn to Bitcoin, even though he said gold is a pet rock. When the people that have the most capital, the people that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, when they turn to a safe haven, it's probably not going to be cryptocurrencies. When we used gold as money, and one of the things, the first chapter of the book is, the book covers a lot of things. The first thing is gold is real money versus national fiat currencies. There's no nation on the earth that uses money today. And people need to start differentiating between money, because money makes, currency takes. Money is something that propels mankind forward. It's honest, it's fair. Currency is dishonest, it's fraud, and it's theft. And when you look at the way currency is created, when we used money, when we used gold, the amount of time and effort that it took to go out and prospect, find a claim, develop that into a mine the ore, refine the ore, melt it down, pour it into a bar, melt those bars and mint them into a coin, that amount of effort equaled the amount of effort that you had to work for in whatever you did to accumulate the right amount of coins of real money to be able to buy a house. And so this work was equal to the work that you had to put in, which is equal to the work that it took to cut down all of the trees, dig up all the dirt to make the copper plumbing and the cement and things, and build that house. It was a fair trade of something for something. When you use fiat currency, it's conjured into existence by a bank. When you're buying a house, you take a piece of collateral. You find a home that you want to buy. This is my collateral. I want to borrow $1 million. The bank looks at your financial record and determines whether or not you're a good risk if you can pay this loan back. And when they say yes, they imagine $1 million worth of bank credit currency, which is reminders that it's not actual dollars in your account, at least according to the Bank of England. It's reminders that they owe you a certain number of IOUs. But national currencies steal part of your future lifetime. This is my big point. It's a tool for enslavement. Just to have them around requires your future work hours to pay on the assets that were acquired to create these IOUs. There's in chapter 4, it does explain that the entire currency system comes down to, it's nothing but IOUs. And what is it that they owe us? They owe us part of our own future lifetimes.